The courtroom door slammed open so hard it echoed like a warning shot. Everyone turned instantly. A young woman in expensive heels marched in with the pride of a queen who never heard the word no in her life. Her designer purse swung at her side like a weapon, and her expression said she wasn't here for justice, she was here to win. No matter what, even before she reached the plaintiff's table, whispers spread across the courtroom. That's her. The senator's daughter. The one who caused the trouble. Yeah, and she thinks she's untouchable. But the judge sitting at the bench watched her with eyes sharp enough to cut through. Diamonds, calm, silent, observing. Kind of stare that makes liars sweat. The girl didn't notice. She didn't care. She slammed her file on the table. She didn't greet the judge. She didn't acknowledge the court. She simply rolled her eyes and said loudly, "Let's get this over with." The whole courtroom went still. Jaw drops, murmurs. Even the bailiff stiffened like he was expecting an explosion. The judge lifted one eyebrow. Slow, controlled, deadly calm. "Excuse me?" Her voice was low, firm, and carried the weight of authority. The senator's daughter crossed her arms, totally unfazed. Yeah, I know the drill. Dad told me this wouldn't take long." A ripple of gasps went across the room. The judge leaned forward slightly. Her tone didn't rise. It didn't need to. "Young lady, this is a courtroom, not your father's living room. Here, your attitude has consequences." The girl scoffed under her breath, but the judge didn't look away. She didn't blink. "State your name for the record." The girl flipped her hair dramatically and said, "Sophia Grant." The judge paused, then looked straight into her eyes. "I didn't ask for your attitude. I asked for your name." Sophia clenched her jaw. "Sophia Grant." The judge nodded. "Better." Behind Sophia, the plaintiff, a calm, kind-looking woman in her late 40s, watched everything with eyes full of quiet devastation. She clutched her small purse tightly, as though holding on to something more than fabric. Maybe fear. The judge turned her attention to her. Double quotes, "Ms. Rivera, you're the plaintiff. Please step forward." Ms. Rivera approached timidly. Sophia rolled her eyes again. Too loud, too obvious that the judge didn't miss it. "Sophia, if you roll your eyes one more time, I will hold you in contempt. I promise you. Your father's job will not protect you here." For the first time, Sophia's confidence wavered. Just a flicker. Barely visible, but real. The judge turned back to Ms. Rivera. "Tell me what happened." Ms. Rivera swallowed. "Your Honor, I've been working as a caretaker at the Grant residence for 4 years. Sophia cut in. "Oof, here we go with the sob story." The judge slammed her gavel so sharply the sound shot through the courtroom like lightning. "Sophia Grant, you will not speak unless I address you." Sophia froze, not because she respected the order, but because she wasn't used to anyone speaking to her like that. Ms. Rivera continued, voice trembling. "I was hired to take care of the senator's wife during her recovery, and also to help Sophia when needed." Sophia muttered, "Help me?" She barely knew what she was doing. Another glare from the judge. Another icy silence. Ms. Rivera struggled to keep her voice steady. "Last month, Sophia accused me of stealing a bracelet, a very expensive one. Her claim got me suspended from my job. I've always been honest. I've never taken anything from anyone." The judge gently asked, "And the reason you filed this lawsuit?" Ms. Rivera's eyes filled. "Because the bracelet wasn't stolen. Sophia found it. She never told anyone. She let me take the blame to teach me a lesson." The courtroom gasped. The judge slowly turned her head toward Sophia. Her silence was louder than shouting. Sophia shrugged. "It was a joke. People joke all the time." The judge's voice dropped to a cold, razor-sharp tone. "Ruining someone's livelihood isn't a joke." Sophia rolled her eyes again, then instantly regretted it as the judge stood up. "Bailiff, approach her." Sophia jolted. "What? Why?" "I didn't do anything." The judge spoke clearly. "This court is a place of truth, respect, and accountability, 3 things you are severely lacking." Sophia's face reddened. "My father, well, Your father is irrelevant here. The judge didn't let her finish. You will stand up straight, you will stop interrupting, and you will answer questions honestly. If not, you will leave this courtroom in handcuffs. Am I clear? Sophia swallowed hard. Her voice, for the first time, held fear. Yes. The judge nodded. Double quotes good. Now let's uncover the truth. A sudden tension filled the room. The air shifted. Everyone leaned forward. The judge asked, Sophia, did you accuse Ms. Rivera of stealing? Sophia hesitated. I might have. Did you find the bracelet the same day you accused her? Sophia's face twisted. Yes, but did you inform the agency? The family? Anyone? Sophia stayed silent. The judge leaned in. Answer the question. Sophia's voice broke slightly. No. Ms. Rivera quietly wiped a tear. The judge straightened her robe. Her voice was steady but carried weight. Sophia Grant, what you did was cruel, reckless, and deeply irresponsible. This court will not tolerate the abuse of power, personal or political. Sophia's eyes darted around. Something in her ego cracked, but the judge wasn't finished. And since you've shown a consistent pattern of disrespect today, I will have to evaluate whether your behavior was simply negligence or deliberate harm. Sophia's breath hitched. That one word, harm, hit her hard, because deliberate harm meant consequences, real ones. She tried to speak, but the judge raised her hand. Don't say a word unless you want to make this worse. The courtroom was silent, heavy, electric. The judge took a slow breath and said, this case is far from over, and I suspect we're not even close to the whole truth. Everyone stiffened. Sophia froze. Miss Rivera looked terrified, because the judge's eyes had locked on something else. Something only she had noticed. Something hidden, something big. And the judge whispered, there's more to this story, isn't there? Sophia looked like a deer caught in headlights. Miss Rivera shifted nervously, and the suspense tightened around the room like a noose. Asterisk. The judge's words hit the room like a silent explosion. There's more to this story, isn't there? Sophia's shoulders stiffened. Her fingers curled over the edges of the table. Her eyes darted, not to the judge, not to the plaintiff, but to the door. Not a good sign. The judge noticed instantly. Sophia, look at me. Sophia didn't move. The judge repeated with razor calm, look at me. Slowly, Sophia lifted her eyes. But the confidence she had walked in with was gone, completely gone. What replaced it was something she never expected to show in a courtroom. Fear. Miss Rivera. The plaintiff looked confused and anxious, as if she wasn't sure what the judge had caught on to. The judge leaned back slightly, examining Sophia as if studying a puzzle with missing pieces. When did you really find that bracelet? Sophia froze again. The judge didn't blink. Not the day you accused her. Not hours later. You found it long before that, didn't you? Sophia's throat visibly tightened. The courtroom was dead silent. Asterisk, even the air felt like it stopped moving. Sophia whispered, barely audible, I don't know. The judge slammed her gavel once. Wrong answer. Sophia flinched. Try again. When did you actually find the bracelet? Sophia's eyes flickered with panic. She leaned closer to the microphone. 2 weeks before. A wave of shocked whispers spread instantly. TWO weeks. She knew. She let the woman get suspended. Asterisk. Miss Rivera's hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes filled. The judge didn't look shocked. She just nodded slowly, as if confirming something she suspected all along. 2 weeks before the accusation, the judge repeated. Meaning you knew Ms. Rivera was innocent before you publicly blamed her and endangered her job. Correct? Sophia gripped the sides of the table. Her voice came out tiny. Yes. The judge's expression hardened. Why? Sophia blinked hard. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened again. Silent. The judge leaned in, her tone lower, sharper, almost surgical. Why did you do it? Sophia didn't answer. She looked down at her trembling fingers, twisting them over each other. The judge continued, her voice soft but cutting. You did it for a reason. People don't destroy someone's livelihood just for entertainment. Not even those who think they're untouchable. So I'll ask again. A beat of tension? Why did you target her? Sophia snapped, not loudly, but emotionally. The pressure broke her. Asterisk, her voice cracked, because she was going to leave. The entire courtroom froze. Miss Rivera looked shocked. The judge tilted her head. Explain. Sophia wiped her face with the back of her hand quickly, trying to hide the tear that appeared. She was the only one who understood me at home, Ms. Rivera whispered. Sophia? Sophia kept speaking, her eyes locked on the floor. Mom was sick. Dad was always busy. Everyone in that house treated me like I was a problem. Except her. She pointed shakily at Ms. Rivera. Asterisk, she cared. She listened. She actually talked to me. And when she said she was planning to leave the job because my mom was recovering, her voice cracked again. I panicked. Ms. Rivera covered her chest with her hand, tears forming. The judge remained silent, letting the truth unravel on its own. Sophia continued. I did something stupid. I thought if she got into trouble, they wouldn't let her go. They'd need her to stay. Ms. Rivera whispered through tears. Asterisk. Oh, Sophia. Why didn't you tell me? Sophia shook her head helplessly. Because you would have left anyway. Who stays with someone like me? The courtroom atmosphere shifted, not forgiving, not excusing, but understanding how deep the emotional mess actually went. The judge exhaled slowly. So instead of talking to her, you chose to ruin her? Sophia nodded shamefully. I know it was wrong. I didn't think it would get this bad. I didn't know she would get suspended. The judge's voice turned stern again. That's because you didn't think, Sophia. You acted out of fear, selfishness, and entitlement, the worst combination. Sophia silently cried now, trying to wipe her face fast enough that no one noticed. But everyone did. Miss Rivera. Heartbreak in her voice asked gently, Why didn't you talk to me, sweetheart? You knew I cared about you. Sophia's voice was tiny, fragile, because you cared for everyone. I knew you cared for my mom, for the house, for your job. She looked directly at Ms. Rivera, the first time she truly faced her. I didn't know if you cared about me. Ms. Rivera suddenly stepped forward, speaking with emotion. Sophia, I cared for you more than you know. You were struggling. You were hurting. I saw it. Sophia cried harder. The judge allowed the moment, but only for a few seconds. Then she regained control of the courtroom. That may be true, Ms. Rivera, but caring does not erase consequences. Sophia stiffened. The judge continued. Sophia Grant used her privilege to manipulate someone who depended on her family for income. She knowingly allowed a false accusation to damage Miss Biss. Rivera's livelihood. Sophia's breathing became rapid. Your Honor, please. The judge raised her hand. Stop. No interrupting. Sophia closed her mouth instantly. The judge took a slow breath. We still need one final piece of truth. Everyone leaned forward. The judge turned to Sophia with piercing eyes. Sophia, did you delete the camera footage from the hallway? The courtroom erupted. Gasps, shouts, murmurs. Sophia went pale. Ghost white. Miss Rivera's hands dropped to her sides. The judge didn't move. Yes or no? Sophia's voice collapsed into a whisper. Yes. Why? Sophia cried into her hands. Because the footage showed me finding the bracelet. The judge's expression turned from stern to deeply disappointed. You didn't just hide the truth. You destroyed evidence. Sophia broke down. Ms. Rivera cried quietly. The judge sat back slowly and said, This situation is far worse than you initially presented, and I assure you, the consequences will match the damage caused. Sophia's head lifted, eyes filled with fear. The judge continued, But before I determine those consequences, we need to discuss one more detail. She paused, looked at Sophia like she was looking into her soul. You weren't the only one involved in hiding the evidence, were you? Sophia's face drained of color completely. The judge leaned in. Who helped you? Sophia swallowed hard. The room held its breath, and then she whispered the name, Akosh, name that made the entire courtroom explode in shock. The name left Sophia's lips like a confession she had been holding for far too long. Ethan, the courtroom reacted instantly. Ethan? The house assistant? The senator's personal aide? He helped her hide evidence. Ms. Rivera's eyes widened. The bailiff stepped forward instinctively. But the judge stayed completely still, the calm before a storm. Say it again louder for the record. Sophia swallowed hard. Ethan Porter helped me delete the footage. The judge's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes sharpened, like she had just confirmed her worst suspicion. And why would he help you? Sophia wiped her cheeks with shaking hands. Because he does whatever my father says. The courtroom shook with a new wave of gasps. The judge leaned forward, voice dangerously low. Are you telling this court that your father ordered his aide to help you delete evidence? Sophia froze. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She shook her head quickly. Asterisk. No, Dad didn't know. Ethan he always covers for me. He said it was for the family's image. He didn't want a scandal. The judge's brows lowered. So you're saying Ethan acted on his own? Sophia nodded rapidly, too rapidly, fear overwhelming her. Yes, he helped me. But Dad didn't ask him? The judge watched her closely, studying her face, her body language, the cracks in her voice. Is that the full truth? Sophia squeezed her eyes shut, a long pause, then, yes. The judge nodded slowly, but she didn't look convinced. She turned her attention to the courtroom. Bailiff, get Ethan Porter in this courtroom, now. The bailiff rushed out. Sophia panicked instantly. Your Honor, please, don't call him. He wasn't trying to hurt anyone, silence. The judge didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Sophia's mouth stopped shut like a switch had been flipped. Ms. Rivera stood there trembling, caught between anger, heartbreak, and disbelief. The judge turned gently to her. Ms. Rivera, did you know Ethan was involved? She shook her head. No. I never imagined he would do something like that. He always seemed respectful. The judge nodded. Often respect is a mask. Today, we remove it. Suddenly, the courtroom doors opened again. Ethan Porter entered. Tall, sharp suit, perfect posture. The kind of man who looked like he ironed his shirt twice and polished his shoes every morning. But his face? His face showed panic. Real panic. He scanned the room, spotted Sophia crying, and froze. Sophia couldn't even look at him. The judge didn't waste a second. Mr. Porter, come forward. He walked slowly, like each step made the truth heavier. We have a serious accusation against you, the judge said. Ethan swallowed, his throat bobbing hard. Before we proceed, I remind you that lying in my courtroom is a criminal act. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. The judge glanced at Sophia. She looked sick. Miss Grant has stated that you assisted her in deleting surveillance footage related to the missing bracelet. Is this true? Ethan's lips parted slightly. His eyes flickered to Sophia. Sophia shook her head desperately. Her silent plea, don't tell them. Don't say anything. But Ethan broke eye contact. He faced the judge, and he said, yes. The courtroom gasped so loudly it echoed. Sophia's entire body shook. She whispered, Ethan, why? He didn't look at her. Instead, he answered the judge. I believed it was necessary to protect the senator's reputation. Any scandal, even a small one, could affect his position. Sophia's voice cracked. No, Ethan, I told you, don't say that. You said you were doing it for me. Ethan finally looked at her. His voice calm, resigned, but honest. Sophia, I was protecting the family, not you. Sophia's breath broke like glass. The judge watched the emotional collapse with shadowed eyes. So, she said slowly, you admit you knowingly hid evidence, interfered with an internal investigation, and helped Miss Grant cover up a false accusation? Yes. The judge nodded once. Bailiff. The bailiff took a step forward. Sophia's panic shot through her like electricity. Your Honor, please, don't arrest him. He was trying to help. I don't want him punished. Please. The judge slammed her gavel. Sophia Grant, sit down. Sophia collapsed into her seat, sobbing. The judge addressed Ethan. Mr. Porter, you will remain here until I determine the next steps. He nodded, defeated. Then the judge turned to Sophia again. Her voice softened, but this softness was scarier than anger. Sophia, what you did wasn't just a mistake. It wasn't a prank. It was calculated. It was selfish, and it harmed someone. Sophia cried harder, her shoulders shaking. Ms. Rivera looked at her, heartbreak mixed with deep disappointment. The judge continued, "You let an innocent woman suffer because you were afraid of losing her. Instead of asking for help, you tried to control the situation by destroying her." Sophia buried her face in her hands. But the judge wasn't done. "There is still one thing we haven't addressed." The courtroom stiffened. The judge leaned forward. "Sophia, you said Ms. Rivera planned to leave. Why?" Sophia looked up slowly, miserable, defeated. "Because my mom got better." The judge waited. Sophia continued, voice breaking, "And because she said the house was becoming too toxic." Ms. Rivera gasped softly. Sophia went on. "She said the environment was hurting my mental health. And hers. She couldn't watch me spiral anymore." She looked at Ms. Rivera through teary eyes. "You were leaving because of me?" Ms. Rivera stepped toward her slowly, her voice trembling. "Sophia, I wasn't leaving because I didn't care. I was leaving because I was getting too protective of you. And I thought I might be crossing boundaries." Sophia cried silently. The judge let the moment settle, then spoke firmly. "This case is bigger than a bracelet, bigger than pride. It's about accountability." She pointed her gavel at Sophia. "You caused emotional harm, professional harm, and nearly legal harm to an innocent woman." Sophia nodded weakly. "I know. And you manipulated someone who cared about you?" Sophia's voice cracked like a small child. "I didn't mean to." The judge leaned closer. "Intent does not erase damage." Silence, deep, heavy silence. Then the judge said something that made everyone inhale sharply. "There is still one more truth I need. And this one will decide the outcome of everything." She stared deeply at Sophia. "Are you ready?" Sophia shivered. "Why, yes." The judge asked, "Did your father know anything about this before or after it happened?" Sophia froze, completely frozen. Her eyes widened, her lips trembled. The judge repeated, "Did your father know?" Sophia looked shattered. She whispered something so quietly only the microphone caught it, but the moment she said it, the courtroom exploded. The courtroom held its breath as Sophia's words hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to burst. Yes, he knew. Every head turned sharply toward her father. The senator's face, calm and composed just moments ago, twitched imperceptibly. There was a flicker of panic behind the carefully cultivated mask. He adjusted his tie, the movement almost robotic. The judge's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself, Miss Grant. How did your father know and why?" Sophia wiped her tears, her voice quivering but determined. He didn't tell me to delete the footage directly. But he knew Ethan was helping me, and he didn't stop it. He wanted to avoid a scandal. Your Honor, that's why he allowed it." The judge leaned back slightly, steepling her fingers, her gaze sharp as a knife. "So your father knowingly allowed evidence to be destroyed? And you participated willingly?" Sophia nodded, her hands clutching the edge of the bench. "Yes, I thought I was protecting our family. I thought it would save everyone embarrassment." A murmur ran through the courtroom. Cameras flashed. The public record would note every word, and the weight of the revelation was enormous. The judge's voice cut through the tension. "Senator Grant, you've heard your daughter's testimony. Do you deny it?" The senator straightened, his voice calm but with an edge of tension that betrayed him. "Your Honor, I was aware of the situation, but I had no intention of harming anyone. I acted to protect my family's reputation." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Protect your reputation at the expense of the truth? At the expense of an innocent woman?" Sophia's gaze shifted toward Ms. Rivera, who sat rigidly, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Her eyes were sharp, full of hurt and disbelief. I thought," the senator started, but the judge cut him off. Thought isn't an excuse in this courtroom. You failed to uphold the law and morality. You allowed a minor to commit a serious act of interference with evidence. You manipulated others, Mr. Porter included. And now your daughter sits here, shaken and broken, while an innocent woman suffers. The judge's words struck like hammers. Sophia buried her face in her hands again, sobs shaking her small frame. Ethan shifted uncomfortably. Realizing the gravity of the situation was far beyond anything he had imagined. "Your Honor," he began, voice quiet, almost pleading, "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted to follow orders and protect the family." The judge raised a finger. "Mr. Porter, your intentions are irrelevant. You interfered with justice. You compromised an investigation. You are complicit." Sophia flinched. It wasn't just him. She blurted out, "I knew what I was doing. I knew it was wrong. I didn't know how to stop." The judge fixed her with a penetrating stare. "And now you understand. Now you feel the weight of your choices." Sophia nodded, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. The judge turned to the public, to the media, and then back to the family. Her voice softened, almost a whisper, but each word carried enormous weight. This case is not just about punishment. It's about accountability, honesty, and the courage to face the consequences of your actions. Every decision has repercussions. Some are immediate, some ripple outward, unseen until they strike. Sophia looked up at the judge, her eyes wide, searching for hope amid the judgment. "Your Honor, what will happen to me?" The judge didn't answer immediately. She studied Sophia's face, noting the genuine remorse, the fear, the confusion. Then she spoke slowly, deliberately. "You will face consequences, Sophia. But the fact that you confessed, that you acknowledged your wrongs, will weigh heavily in your favor. True growth begins with recognition of one's mistakes." Sophia nodded again, swallowing hard, the sobs quieting slightly. The judge's gaze then shifted to the senator and Ethan. "As for you two," her voice hardened, "you will answer for your choices. You place loyalty to a family above the law and ethics. This courtroom will not condone that." Ethan swallowed, beads of sweat forming at his temple. He looked at Sophia, and for the first time, guilt etched deeply into his features. The senator's jaw tightened. He was a man used to power, control, and influence, but here, in the confines of justice, none of it mattered. The judge's authority was absolute. "Now," the judge continued, "we move to restitution. Ms. Rivera, you have been wronged. Your reputation, your mental peace, and your career all compromised. You will be compensated, and an apology will be made, publicly and sincerely." Ms. Rivera blinked back tears, a mix of relief and lingering hurt. She nodded slowly. The judge's eyes swept the room, finally resting back on Sophia. "And you, young lady, you will participate in community service and restitution programs. You will learn responsibility not through privilege, but through action. Only then will we know if lessons have truly been learned." Sophia's shoulders shook. She nodded, double quotes, "Yes, Your Honor." A tense silence fell. Then the judge leaned back, her tone softening further. "Court is adjourned. For now, but let this day serve as a reminder. Every choice has consequences. Every secret eventually comes to light. And justice, even when delayed, will not be denied." The gavel struck with finality. The sound echoed through the hall, marking the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Sophia slowly stood, still trembling, and glanced at Ms. Rivera. Their eyes met. There was no warmth yet, but there was understanding. Outside the courtroom, the world awaited. Media, whispers, speculation. But within the walls, a reckoning had begun. Lives were forever altered, lessons painfully learned, and a young girl had taken the first step toward owning her actions. And for the first time, Sophia felt a strange sense of clarity. The storm had passed, but the debris remained, a reminder that the truth, no matter how late, always finds a way. Asterisk, the courtroom was tense, the air thick with anticipation. Every eye was on Sophia as she walked to the front, her steps hesitant but determined. Today wasn't just about punishment, it was about closure, about truth, and about facing the consequences of actions that had spiraled out of control. The judge, seated firmly on the bench, regarded her with a mix of scrutiny and expectation. "Sophia Grant," she began, her voice steady, "today you will address the full scope of your actions. You have already admitted interference with evidence, manipulation of a witness, and complicity in misleading authorities. Do you understand the gravity of what you have done? Sophia took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Her voice trembled at first, but strengthened with each word. Yes, Your Honor, I understand completely. I wanted to protect my family, but I see now that I only caused more harm. I accept whatever punishment is deemed necessary. The judge nodded slowly, as though weighing the sincerity of her words. And you, Senator Grant, do you accept accountability for your role in this? Asterisk, the senator's face was stern, his voice even, but there was a subtle tension beneath it. I do. Your Honor, I allowed my desire to protect my reputation to cloud my judgment. I interfered where I should not have. I will accept the consequences of my actions. Ethan shifted in his seat, finally realizing that no amount of excuses could shield him now. Mr. Porter, the judge said sharply, you knowingly assisted in destroying evidence and obstructing justice. What do you have to say for yourself? Ethan swallowed hard, his eyes meeting Sophia's. For a fleeting moment, he saw the remorse reflected in her gaze. Then he spoke, his tone almost breaking. I made a terrible mistake. I let loyalty and fear guide me, and I acted without thinking. I'm ready to face the consequences. Asterisk, the judge's gaze swept across the courtroom, the weight of her authority palpable. Today, we are not only delivering punishment, we are also examining the lessons learned and the paths toward redemption. This courtroom is a place for truth, and today truth will be confronted in its entirety. Sophia's voice broke as she recounted the events leading up to the interference. Every detail poured out her fear, her misguided loyalty, the pressure of her father's reputation. The room was silent except for her voice, raw and sincere, echoing off the walls. I thought I was protecting everyone, she said. I didn't see that my actions would hurt Ms. Rivera, that they would put innocent people in danger. I see now that trying to hide the truth only makes the consequences worse. Ms. Rivera sat rigidly, listening, her expression unreadable. But when Sophia's gaze flicked toward her, there was a faint acknowledgement and understanding that came from seeing someone confront their mistakes honestly. The judge leaned forward. Her tone measured but firm. Asterisk. Acknowledgement is the first step, but actions must follow words. Therefore, Sophia Grant, you will be placed under supervised community service programs. You will participate in mentorship and restitution initiatives designed to rebuild trust and demonstrate responsibility. You will also write a public statement of accountability to Ms. Rivera and the institutions affected by your interference. Sophia nodded, tears streaming freely now. Yes, Your Honor, I will do whatever it takes. The judge turned her attention to the senator. Asterisk. Senator Grant, your position of power amplified the consequences of your actions. You will face penalties appropriate to your role in the obstruction and interference. You will also engage in public service aimed at transparency and ethical leadership to begin restoring public trust. The senator exhaled slowly, the weight of the verdict settling on his shoulders. There was no deflection, no spin, just acknowledgement. Ethan's punishment was more severe, reflecting his direct participation in the interference. The judge's words were cutting but fair. Mr. Porter, your cooperation and remorse are noted. However, the law demands accountability. You will serve both legal penalties and community service to understand the impact of your actions fully. Redemption is possible, but only through diligence and integrity. The courtroom seemed to exhale collectively. For the first time, there was a sense that justice, though painful, was being restored. The judge's voice softened, her eyes lingering on Sophia. This day will not erase the harm done, but it can be a beginning, a point from which honesty, responsibility, and redemption grow. Remember this lesson: no action, no matter how well-intentioned, should come at the expense of justice. Sophia's hands trembled, but her eyes shone with determination. She had faced the storm, confronted her fears, and emerged with clarity. Ms. Rivera, still composed, finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but deliberate. I appreciate the honesty and remorse shown here today. It doesn't erase the pain, but it acknowledges the truth. That is the first step toward moving forward. The judge nodded, signaling the court was nearly done. Court adjourned. Let this be a day remembered for accountability, courage, and the unyielding pursuit of justice. As the gavel struck, the courtroom erupted in quiet murmurs. Reporters scribbled furiously, cameras flashed, and whispers of the day's revelations filled the air. But inside, Sophia felt a strange serenity. The storm had passed, and while the debris remained, there was a path forward, a path of learning, restitution, and redemption. Outside the courthouse, the sunlight was warm and bright. Sophia stepped out, her heart heavy with the weight of lessons learned, but lightened by the clarity of truth. She glanced at Ethan, whose expression mirrored her own mixture of guilt and relief. Her father, still imposing but humbled, placed a hand on her shoulder. There was no need for words. The acknowledgement in his eyes said it all. For Ms. Rivera, the journey ahead remained difficult, but the acknowledgement and accountability offered a chance to rebuild and reclaim what had been tarnished. And as the courthouse doors closed behind them, the story, raw, emotional, and fraught with suspense, reminded everyone present that in the pursuit of justice, truth, courage, and remorse were forces more powerful than privilege, fear, or deception. Sophia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her mistakes and the promise of a new beginning. She had faced the consequences, seen the impact of her choices, and stepped into the light of accountability. In that moment, justice wasn't just a word, it was a lived experience, a lesson carved into the hearts of all who had witnessed it, and the echoes of this day would ripple far beyond the walls of the courtroom, a testament to the enduring power of truth and the strength required to embrace it.